Do you think UFOs, the paranormal, weird history, cryptozoology, and outsider art are pretty darn cool? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to High Strangeness with your host, Steve Berg.
The video version. Well, my friends, guess what? It seems you have found your way to another episode of High Strangeness. Folks, today, returning to the show for a third time, actually. Part of the illustrious Third Timers Club, my friend. Rob Kristoffersen. Rob, you may know him from the Our Strange Skies podcast. A great writer, a great human being. Rob, how are you doing, my friend? What's going on?
I have to correct you there, Steve. This is not my third time. This is actually my fourth time.
Is it really?
Yes.
Dude, you're the first fourth timer. Oh yeah, because the Emily Louise episode.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Totally counts too, and that was a really fun one. Yes. Well, I stand correct. I'm not editing on that, folks. It's everyone thinks Steve Berg. Oh, you're just perfect. No.
What are you talking about, Steve? You are perfect. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
My mother says so.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all that counts.
All that matters, man. That's all that matters. But how have you been, pal? I mean, you've kind of stepped away from, the podcast and, sort of the UFO world, but not really, but kind of.
Yeah. I have been focusing on writing specifically and just exploring creativity, seeing where it takes me, and just kind of letting whatever's gonna come out. Like I literally wrote a poem on I think it was Threads, and just posted it, and it's just kind of figuring out what I want to do and harnessing my weird ass brain, and just seeing how I can make things, what I can make. And yeah, it's a very freeing thing, as opposed to the dregs of kind of content creation, where it can get very monotonous and boring, and please give me one more case. It's insane the messages that I will get from people saying please bring back the podcast. It's just I cannot. It would my brain could not handle it. It's just I don't think, if you've never created in this space, you do not understand how, unless you have a team that works with you, which most people don't, it is hard in a lot of different ways. So I've just been exploring writing and kind of just honing that a little bit, I'm getting better and better every day, and just seeing what ideas come to me and what I can make of them, So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're clearly a good writer. I mean, I knew that just from listening, being a huge fan of your podcast, because I mean, it's not like this show where this is a conversation, sometimes structured, sometimes not. But your show was a heavily research show. And I think you are still to this day one of the great researchers of the the humanoid phenomenon, the alien humanoid phenomenon. I do think your show was a great service. I loved it. I've heard every episode, listened to many of them multiple times. But I can also understand and appreciate how the burnout factor with that, because it's a lot of work. I mean, you were buying books, crushing. Sometimes you'd read multiple books for one episode.
Yeah, it's fucking. Oh my god! Just to have something that's heavily researched and put out material every week it's almost nearly impossible. And for a lot of people, I think it is, unless they're sharing the burden with somebody else, which I wasn't.
Right, or someone's going to pay you a full-time salary to do it.
Exactly.
Even then.
That's kind of what I whenever somebody would say something like that online, I would be like, pay me a salary and I'll be happy to do it. But other than that, no, it's just I understand the how important podcasts are to people, and I respect that. I have my podcasts that I listen to. I don't listen to a lot these days, but I do listen to some, and they could be a great comfort to people, but it's just
Yes.
I don't think people understand a lot of the time just how much work goes into it. It's insane. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, even for a show like mine that's just, it's basically conversations, it's still work, I mean, like, it
Yeah.
is, like, more than I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be. I kind of thought it was going to be like, I text somebody, see if they want to come on my show, hit record, bing, bang, boom, baby. No, it's like, I was
No,
a
you
little bit
got
shocked at the beginning. I was like, whoa,
and the thing about it is, it's like it's not even the research process that I did not like. I enjoyed the research process. I enjoyed the writing process. I enjoyed the recording process. It's the
sure,
editing process that kills everything because it is so. You kind of have to be so meticulous about it in order
yeah,
to create a product that you're happy with and you're willing to share with
right,
everybody. And that's not always feasible for like every
yeah,
week, just on a consistent basis. It's so hard. The original concept for Our Strange Skies, when I started it, I wanted to do like a hardcore history kind of thing where I'd put out like one huge chunk of audio every like so many months, but it's just like there's one guy doing it and that's okay. He can do it because he puts way more research into his stuff than I have ever done. I mean, I've done a lot of research, but dear God, Dan Carlin is just like insane with
yeah,
what he does.
yeah,
But like a lot of I respect a lot of the folks that do that. I especially people just like wanting to start a podcast with their buds and talk about cryptids and stuff. It's cool as hell.
yeah, for sure.
The monotony of it does not ever end, though, as like more and more come out of them. And that's the nature of podcasting. Is like it's not the content that you're putting out there. For some people, it is. For a
Hmm.
very, I would say, select amount of people, it is. But really, it's you putting yourself out there. So
Yeah.
that's what people are tuning in for. That's what people are listening for.
Yeah, right. I think you're probably right. I mean, it's like it's like there's not really an original podcast anymore. Like it's you
The
are it's like a TV show. You're tuning in for the personalities you like, I suppose.
Basically, I mean, like the nature of podcasting has changed so much
Yeah.
because it's I would say at the beginning hump of it, because I mean podcasts have been around since like the late 2000s, and
Hmm.
like some people were putting out podcasts, but like Serial's kind of the first major podcast, and like it was so heavily produced and
Yeah.
written and presented, and now it's basically just two people getting together. A lot of them are celebrities these days, like those are the podcasts that kind of rule the roost, and it's
Yeah.
celebrities getting together, and like some of it's testing out material, some of it's just like people getting
Talking
out there.
politics. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like riffing, and like half
Right.
of it's garbage, but like that is the nature of it, and it's just really hard to sustain anything in this world.
Yeah.
So I'm
It
in
is.
favor of more podcasting, poor podcasts ending. I'm totally about it. To be honest. Like
You
it
like
shows a lot of
conclusions.
maturity to be able to end something.
It does. Well, everything's got to end eventually. I
Hmm.
suppose. I feel like I got some more years left in me, but eventually, I'm going to run out of people to talk to and run out of things to
Hmm.
say. And how many different ways can I ask the same question about someone's UFO experience?
Right.
Although I will say for now, it's like I'm constantly shocked by the conversations that I come up with different individuals. I'm like, oh, there is still like I
Mhm.
haven't hit it all yet. So
Yeah.
I still have a lot of questions, Rob. I still have a lot of questions, which brings me sort of to our, like r- today. I feel like first off, Rob has written on his Substack a multi-part series. There's two parts out right now, and it's called "Coming to Terms with Something I'm Not Sure I Am," which I think which is such a great title because it's
Hmm.
like so. it's like self-negating in a way, which I kind
Yeah,
of love, like almost like the phenomenon that we're going to be talking about.
yeah,
So I think it's like a very loaded title, which I remember when you sent me the Substack. I was like. I just kind of sat with the title for a minute. I'm like, yeah, okay. I like this because it's such an first time it's such an honest like title because
yeah. Like,
it is
uh,
though like like I think it
when
is
yeah, when I was like coming up for a title with this thing, and it's like I don't really know what this is, but it's like I kind of think in this one way about it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of coming to terms with something I'm not really sure that I am, so
right.
let's just kind of put it out there and stuff, because like the impetus for this, I recently picked up uh because like the what I've done basically since wrapping the podcast is I've taken like the vast majority of my UFO books. I've put them in a storage shed right now, and I'm like surrounded by like all other sorts of literature that I'm just like
Hmm.
kind of diving into, and like the my UFO kind of like theory is just like it's always there, kind of like cooking in my head.
Hmm.
So I have like maybe 50 UFO books and other weird books like still in here. I actually
Yeah.
went out into my storage unit and grabbed some out that I still wanted to read through at some point.
Right. Right.
Um, but I picked up this book called Abducted by Anne Andrews and Gene Ritchie, and it is about the Andrews family and their experiences of abduction, largely starting, like the impetus of it was Anne Andrews' son, Jason, who started having really intense, like, abduction-like experiences. And when I read books like this, not necessarily, like, I recently read The Interrupted Journey by John G. Fuller, which I think is, in terms of quality, I think is like the best book written about abductions. Like, I think it's a
Really?
little,
Yeah, I've never read that one.
yeah,
What was the title again?
The
The
Interrupted
Interrupted.
Journey. Yeah, it's the book that actually, I have here. I'll grab my copy right now. I have an original copy still here.
Oh, look at
Um,
you.
yeah. So the old Interrupted Journey,
Beautiful.
but it was written by John G. Fuller. At the time, the Hills were like John G. Fuller was uh, doing the work for his book Incident at Exeter at the time, and ended up writing that book. But it's like it's very well written. John G. Fuller's a great writer, and I think he implemented the hypnosis sessions in the book like really
Hmm.
well. But going back to the book Abducted, which actually here I'll grab that too while I'm here.
Look at you.
The-
Oh yeah,
I know.
just when they think you gotten out, they pull you back in. Like
Yeah. So, Abducted: The True Story of Alien Abduction in Rural England. And
ooh,
what always strikes me about books like this, it's not the like specific abduction experiences, but it's kind of like the secondary phenomenon that arise when people are going through these experiences. So like, poltergeist phenomenon,
yes,
hearing odd sounds, having stuff moved around the house and stuff like that.
electronic interference. Yeah,
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, no, which is the most interesting stuff. Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the I think it's the more interesting aspect of the phenomenon itself, because like most phenomenon in general are occurring to you in your time, in your reality, where you are right now. And
Hmm.
abductions are interesting because they kind of rip you out of your reality and put you someplace almost in like a neutral space to experience what's happening to you.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to that, I started to remember some incidents in my life and just like kind of put them into the context of like, well, these don't fit with like normal spirit activity or, you know, just kind of random one-off stuff. It's things that have kind of added up over and over and over again. And in the writing of this article, I basically said I don't have a specific abduction experience that I can tell you I've
Right.
had, but what I've had is this collection of memories that just like stand out to me that are very different from like from even like the normal strange experiences that I've had.
Yeah.
When it comes to like spirit phenomenon and stuff, like my experiences like run the gamut, but these experiences just kind of like they make me feel as if they add up to something else. And that's basically the impetus for this series of articles. And for me, it started in childhood, but like it started with my bedroom, and specifically, what I remember about that bedroom is I never liked that bedroom. It
Yeah,
just,
yeah. You make a point of that. Yeah.
yeah. So I was to a certain degree, I was just like scared of it,
Uh-huh.
and I don't really know why. Like it may be just like childish, like kids being scared of like their bedrooms and stuff, like some kids are. For one, that radiator never really worked that well. It was always kind of cold in there. But I don't know why. I just never liked it. But I always kind of remember like wanting to sleep someplace else all the time. So I would kind of just sleep in our recliner a lot of the time. There were times that I would just like take a blanket and a pillow and just like put it right next to my parents' bed. And the funny thing is like my parents' bedroom is like a couple of feet away. So
Right.
like even in childhood logic, it like that's childhood logic for you
For
because
sure. For sure.
but it's also like the standard protocol when it comes to dealing with weird shit is like the covers are there to protect you. If you put them over you, like there's a level of protection. It's like a shield.
Yeah. Well, you stop
So
perceiving the scary thing.
yeah,
So therefore, it's kind of gone away.
yeah, exactly. And uh, I one thing that I didn't include in the article is that my grandparents gave me this monster truck toy, and I was scared to fucking death of it. It
Really?
terrified the shit out of me because it was called the Animal, and it was this blue
Ah.
monster truck toy, and it had claws that came out of the tires, so these like plastic
Cool.
claws,
Yeah.
and it was gnarly looking, but I was terrified of it. And I have I have memories of my mother never want at certain points my mother not wanting me to leave my bedroom, so she would put that toy right in front of my door. Um, yeah,
No fair, Ma.
yeah,
That's cheating.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that bedroom was just I didn't like it, never liked it,
Yeah.
and um, the major incident that occurred in that bedroom took place when I was probably about 6, somewhere around that age. And it's Christmas Eve. We'd gone to bed, and I got up because I had to go to the bathroom. And I remember my parents yelling at me that it wasn't time to go open presents to go back to bed. But I told them I had to go to the bathroom and made my way there. And my bedroom was right next to the top landing that led down to our front door. So the front door, it was down a set of stairs, and there was like a dogleg right to get to it. And the door was old as hell. It had like, it was one of those locks, the handle and lock set that like had a skeleton key to it. But we
Uh-huh.
never had the key for it. And sometimes it did not close properly, so our downstairs neighbors would close it for us. They were a nice old couple, and they would babysit myself and my sister from time to time. And I remember walking by and seeing, because you could see the hallway light from underneath that door if it was open. And I saw it, and I saw the door just closing very slowly. Light was disappearing from the bottom of it, and thought that, it was just the downstairs neighbor doing it. So I ended up, going to the bathroom, going back to my bed, climbing in, and like a couple minutes later, I see this short figure just standing in my doorway. And I couldn't make out any features because it had, the light of the hallway just like
Right.
coming inward, so it was obscuring it. But it had the shape of what I, come to view as a garden gnome. And like, that was something I knew of when I was a kid. It's, like you see those kind of garden gnome. I think even my grandparents may have had one in their garden, but it was the
Yeah, the
distinct shape
Smurfs
of
were kicking around,
Yeah,
and the Smurfs are
exactly.
gnome-ish.
Exactly, like very gnomish,
hmm
and this figure just kind of stood in my doorway for a few seconds and then walked into my room, past my eyesight at the foot of my bed, and I don't remember anything after that. I think, might have just gone to sleep. I don't really know, but that to me was like kind of the start of the weirdness. Like that's the first real incident that I can think of that
Right.
felt very weird. The only
Do-
other like moments that I
well,
can think of is like when I was
You know,
watching
before
like
I'm sorry,
yeah,
before we jump past the gnome, I just have a couple questions, and you
yeah,
likely don't remember it. But I
yep,
mean, I suppose like coming from a 6-year-old's perspective on Christmas Eve,
mm,
I feel like there are like I remember I had like friends who'd be like I saw one of like the Christmas elves, with Santa, or I
mm-hmm,
saw Santa Claus like on the roof, and like I wonder at the time if you may not remember, did you associate this with Christmas at all? Like, do you
yeah,
remember? And then
yep,
so you did.
mm-hmm, yeah,
hmm
one hundred
So like the
percent.
next morning, you're like, I saw one of Santa's elves. Crazy.
I did never said anything about it to anybody.
Yeah,
Never said
but
anything about it
but
to
in
my
your head, you
parents
kind
or
of thought
anything.
about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, oh, I didn't, like that idea that oh, like elves are real and they
Right.
visit you and stuff. But like,
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
this elf is really short because like it was like probably about a foot tall. It was very short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry,
but like,
I just wanted because I'm always interested in like because I do
yeah,
feel like expectations and perspective is
hmm,
sometimes important to this stuff. But
oh
that's
yeah,
interesting to me. Okay, sorry, I didn't want me to cut you off.
no, it's all good. It's all good. But there are moments where like I just have these like odd feelings of being watched as a kid, and it was generally watching Saturday morning cartoons. Like it
Mhm.
always felt like there was somebody kind of like watching me from like the doorway. And the thing is like that feeling kind of followed me from that apartment building. We ended up moving when I was like 8 or 9, somewhere around there. We moved into a house, and like I always even got that feeling on when we moved there, like this like feeling of somebody just like standing in the doorway watching. Though
Mhm.
nobody was ever there. It was just like a weird feeling of being watched
Yeah.
at certain points. But like the weirdness kind of just abated. Um, the the weirdness um, for me was experienced through unsolved mysteries. Watching it as a kid, like
Yeah, me
I
too.
watched it when I was way too young. I remember watching it when I was like 7 or 8, because
Totally.
it started in the late '80s and like
Well, it's funny because that show was like, I mean, I actually still throw in episodes in the background when I'm like,
hmm,
like at night 'cause it gives me a warm, fuzzy, cozy feeling. But like,
hmm,
I'm always like shocked, like, wow, I guess because it was on network TV, one of the big three back in
hmm,
the '80s or '90s, all parents thought like, well, this is okay for my kid to watch. It's on NBC. It has to be,
basically.
but man, I mean, it was like a pretty hardcore show.
It
You know, it
was.
was also intoxicating. And I think it was one of those shows for people like us that like was an inciting incident. You know, not like that was an
Mhm.
incident, but like I remember seeing some of the UFO stories on them. Like, whoa,
Yep.
oh, this stuff is real, man. Like
Yeah.
Robert
Oh
Stack
yeah.
wouldn't lie.
No. My mom in particular raised us under this umbrella that you could be abducted at any point and taken and kidnapped because
Right.
like that like it wasn't, we watched Unsolved Mysteries, we watched Rescue 911. So the lineup for us was Rescue 911 on Tuesdays with William Shatner, Unsolved Mysteries on Friday with Robert Stack, and then you had America's Most Wanted on Saturdays. And
Yes.
with other than like the smattering of cartoons that I watched growing up and um, American Gladiators and stuff like that,
Hell yes.
those shows like really stuck out. But like I always there was always this like thing where my mom was always afraid that I would be kidnapped, which I get. It was like a big thing
Yeah.
in the '90s. It
It
was it
was.
was
It was the
yeah.
milk carton kids and stuff. It really was
Yes.
like a fear. Yeah.
Yeah, the song "Runaway Train," it was
A cautionary tale.
it was a cautionary tale. I remember the music video, and it's all like missing person posters like
Yeah.
all over it.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah, that was the fear that you lived with is like that could happen at any moment, and
Yeah.
um, so living with that on top of Unsolved Mysteries, which I always popped for those unexplained segments because they were
Oh
always
man.
weird. And like, yeah, they had the UFO stuff, the ghost stuff, but they also featured like a lot of religious miracles too, which was
Yes.
always interesting.
Absolutely, dude. There'd be like stigmata episodes, and like
Yep.
those almost scared me the most because I was like, "Well, shit."
Yes. Yeah. And like, Donnie Decker, the Rainmaker, that dude who was if you've never seen a segment of Unsolved Mysteries, go look up the Donnie Decker one because
Oh,
they called him the Rainmaker because he was experiencing what they were promoting and what seemed like elements of demonic possession, but he claimed that he was being possessed by his dead grandfather because his grandfather abused him, and he started experiencing all of the stuff that is common in like exorcism, like demonic possession cases,
yeah.
where like making it rain indoors, like
Ooh.
having adverse reactions to crucifixes and stuff like that. That
Yeah.
one probably scarred me for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember like my neck of the woods, there was a segment featured about the ghost of Grace Brown, who she died in my neck of the woods. She was murdered, and her ghost can be seen around one of the lakes where there's like a hotel there. And so yeah, growing up with that, um, the next kind of like really probably the incident that shook me the most was this UFO sighting I had when I was a teenager.
Mhm.
My sister had just moved out because she didn't really. She's going through that rebellious teenage phase. She didn't really get along with my parents, so she moved out and then moved in with her boyfriend, which my parents were not happy about. But I got her bedroom, which was the master bedroom for the house. My parents' bedroom was downstairs because they had, I think, like a queen size bed, and they just couldn't get it up the stairs.
Right.
So I got that room, and we set it up right by the window. And there was one night I was getting ready for bed, and the way that the windows was kind of set up, it's kind of hard to look out into the sky when you're looking. You have to kind of crane your neck, but for some reason I just had the urge to look up, and there was this orange light in the sky, And what it would do is it almost kind of acted like a firefly in a lot of ways. So the light would appear, and then it would disappear, and then it would appear to the left of where it had been, and then it would disappear and then appear to about the position it was before, and it kept like going back and forth. And the way that I described it is like it almost like it was dancing in a way, like, but like this very personal feeling that what I was seeing was meant for me. I remember feeling that very distinctly. And I watched this thing for maybe a couple minutes. It was still doing that when I went to bed. This was in the middle of winter, so like there is no way it's like a firefly or anything like that. Especially up here, winters are brutal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I just like watched it for a couple minutes, hopped into bed, and went to sleep. And that's the thing, is like something like that is so mundane that you forget about it. And
Yeah.
I kind of subsequently forgot about it until I was watching an episode of Unsolved Mysteries one weekend. And I remember this episode distinctly because it was one that featured UFOs specifically, but it was the first time they had ever featured the story of the Allagash abductions.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Allagash abductions, basically these 4 guys that were camping in the remotest parts of Maine. Like they had to be flown into one section, and the rest of the time they're paddling with a canoe. So they're really out in the middle of nowhere. And they were out in their canoe fishing because they didn't have any food. And they see this UFO kind of rise above these trees. And one of them has the idea that they're going to signal it with a flashlight. And this UFO chases them. And the funny thing is, they're in a canoe. How are you going to outrun a UFO in a canoe? I don't know.
Man, you better paddle fast, dog.
Yeah. So they have this memory of like, you know, outrunning this UFO, and in the next moment, their memory cuts to them being onshore, just looking up at this light and this object in the sky. And that terrified me to no fucking end. Partially because if you haven't watched it, folks, seriously go watch it, because
it's a great episode. I remember it so clearly.
Yeah. So there's each of those guys were in art school at the time. So each of them did art related to this particular incident. And I think it was Jack Wiener's art that really hit me, because it was like some of it was computer generated, because it was very early years of computer generated art that he created this for. He didn't create it in 1976, he created it in the late 80s. And that, coupled with the tapes from the hypnosis session, just like, it's as chilling as listening to Barney Hill's stuff.
Yeah.
Of like,
yeah.
You know, these guys just like screaming and just like moaning in pain and stuff. But after that moment, after that, I viewed that. I would not take a shower at night, fearing that there were aliens on the other side of the shower curtain. Just absolutely refused to do it.
Yeah.
So that kind of like turned me off of UFOs and aliens for a long time, a very long time. And it wasn't until it's around 2008 that the kind of just like the notion re-entered my life. So at that period, I became a paranormal investigator after my dad died, and I used some of the insurance money that I got from him, bought some equipment, you know, and just like started doing investigations on the houses, the places that I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think the most chilling thing that I ever caught was like EVP. And it wasn't a voice, but it was the sound of a glass ashtray just sliding across a counter.
Whoa.
And it came out like really well, and it was fucking creepy as shit. But in 2008, I called this psychic because I'd seen her on, I think it was like Paranormal State, or it was, well, she was on, I know she was on one of those shows that was on the A&E network at the time. Paranormal State was their biggest show. They also had Psychic Kids, which I think she appeared on, but she was a guest on a
Psychic Kids,
podcast.
what an irresponsible show. Jesus.
Yeah, that
I mean,
was,
come on.
yeah, yeah,
Terrible.
that was a show.
Yeah. I never saw it, but now I'm curious about watching. I'm like, good lord.
It's it's something. I mean,
Yeah.
it stars the star of the show is Chip Coffey, which he seems like a lovely human being, but
I
like,
do like Chip Coffey. I'm a fan. Yeah.
yeah, he seems like a good dude. Um, but there's the psychic Tiffany Johnson. She was a guest, a repeat guest on Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson used to have this kind of like podcast / radio show called Beyond Reality Radio that I used to listen to all the time. And I just decided to, shell out, I think it was like $80 for like a 30-minute reading with her. And one of the questions that I asked her was, am I always going to be, interested in the paranormal stuff? And she said, flat out, she's like, yeah, you're always going to be interested in it, but it's actually UFOs that you're really going to sink your teeth into, that you're really going to show an interest in. And I was like, and I thought that was weird because I'm like, no, they scare me. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
But like, it's like, oh, okay. So that was kind of in the back of my mind. And so I lost my job in the 2008 housing crisis. It was a year after. It was almost a year to the day after that had happened. In 2009, I got fired from my job, and my boss, Al, he made it out to seem like it was worse than what it actually was. Like, he did not like me, and it's like, that's fine. I didn't like him either. But like, I don't know. I wasn't the protege that he wanted me to be. He kind of like inherited the store that I worked in, and he was giving me this laundry list of excuses, and then at the end of it, he's like, I'm gonna put down that you were let go for financial reasons. I'm like, yeah, that's because it is for financial reasons. You can't afford to pay me. Like, that's really what this is about, and you're just like trying to make me feel like shit. Okay, so
cool guy.
yeah, but I went back to college after that because I was drawing unemployment, and I was bitter, so I was going to get the most out of my unemployment. I drew unemployment for 2 years. We got extensions through because at the time of the 2008 crisis, Obama had been elected president, so he extended the our unemployment benefits for about a year. So I managed to get an associate's degree. I was going for a bachelor's, but I had to eventually pull away from school and go find a job. And it was during that time in college, and I was the most insufferable motherfucker that I can think of, because I was that guy who Ancient Aliens started to become a thing in 2009, and I remember because I watched the original 6-part miniseries, and then it boomed into a full-scale series after that.
I couldn't get enough of Giorgio's hair, and they're like, we got to give him 10 seasons with a hair like that, Like,
yeah, exactly. Give him 10 seasons and watch as his hairline thins over the years. Yeah.
That's when it'll finally be canceled, is when he loses all his hair, but not until then.
It's gotta be. And you know what? If you want somebody with a good head of hair, I'm just saying, I'm right here, and we can do something. Um, but yeah, at that time I was interested in ancient aliens. I was interested in demonic possessions, angels. I was a very weird person back then.
Yep.
And um there were it was my last semester at the last college that I attended, and I was forced to move out of the dorm room that I had because our neighbor was smoking meth, or my roommate was smoking meth in our room, and he'd do
Oh,
it in the middle of the
shit.
night, and
Yeah.
I caught him.
In the middle of the night, it does not seem like the
Yes.
best time to smoke meth.
Yeah, and like, no, it's not.
At least do it in the
Uh,
morning as a substitute for coffee. I mean, like,
yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, I caught him, and he basically like the dude was like taller and bigger than me, and he just like confronted me one day. He's like, "You got to move out." I'm like, "Fine with me." So I
sounds
kind of
good. I agree.
yeah. So I retreated to my mom's house because she lived not far away at the time for a couple days, and I actually moved into the dorm room right next door. The funny thing is like, there was a guy that was in there. This young guy. He was like maybe like I want to say he was like 22, 21, somewhere around there. He was getting his fucking master's degree at 22 years old,
Jesus.
and
Overachiever.
he was getting his master's degree in math.
Oh,
So
boy.
he was a smart guy, and I had started to become interested in alien abductions for some reason. I don't know why, but I bought a copy of Communion by Whitley Strieber, and it was the cover, that ugly ass cover that was like blue and it had a UFO
Yeah.
on it from like maybe a decade and a half ago. It was that cover. I remember that, and I was kind of ripping through it, and there was a Friday. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I just got this very eerie feeling that something was in the room. That was not that was not my roommate. It was just me.
Yeah.
It was like, there's something else here. So I turned over in my bed and I look over at my roommate's bed. And his bed was kind of like mine was on the ground. His was kind of like elevated up a little bit. It was like it was almost like one of those like bunk beds that they have in college dorm rooms, but like it was like halfway up,
Uh-huh.
and just so he could like store stuff underneath it.
Sure.
So his bedspread just kind of like hung over at his comforter, and against this comforter is this silhouette of this giant ass alien head. And
Like, it was, like, that was one thing, like, was it laying down on the bed, or was it standing in front of the bed with the, like, in front of the, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
how was it positioned?
So it looked like it was actually part of the comforter. Like
Uh-huh.
it was it wasn't like 3-dimensional, it was like 2-dimensional set against this comforter. And it was just like it didn't look like, because where our dorm room was, there were some like trees out there who had largely lost their leaves by now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at first thinking like, oh, the light from outside is casting, like, this is trees,
Right.
like casting on this. And I'm like, no, this does not look like trees. You can make out a head, you can make out a neck, you can make out like kind of a body down to about right here. And it was very like it was very comical looking, but it was like frightening at the same time.
And your roommate was not there, right?
No, he was sleeping. He was sleeping
Oh,
right
he's sleeping, so
where
he was
that
there.
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm just like laying here and I'm like freaked out a little bit. But like like this silhouette, it didn't look like it was like staring at me, and then the head turned and it looked like it was staring right the fuck at me.
Oh, God,
And
that's
I'm not
creepy.
Yeah. Like that was the weird thing about it, is like it moved. And
Yeah.
that shouldn't happen. Like, and that's the thing, like, if this is trees and stuff, Like, you would figure this thing would, like, waver a little bit in the wind. It didn't. It was, like, its own thing.
Right.
And it was just, like, staring at me for a little bit. When I say a little bit, it's really a long time. It was, like, 3 hours that it was in that room. And
Good God.
I just, like, laid there for a little while. And then I'm like, well, I could still move. I don't know what this is. It's not doing anything. So I just, like, I got up and I started to work on some, like, homework because I was going home later that day anyway, back to off campus, back to um, the town I live in now. And it was just, like, there. It was just, like, this, like, kind of creepy feeling of being watched, but it's also, like, it's so comical to look at. It's like its head was, like, huge, like, gray, like, when you think of, like, grays and stuff, it's they have big heads already. This is like the bobblehead equivalent, just, like, so much bigger and very, like absurd to look at.
So, but you could
But
make out. Could you make out facial features, or was it just like a
no,
silhouette of a head?
no, but
Yeah.
just really like a silhouette.
Uh huh.
So I'm just in this room. I start, like, doing my laundry. So I'm like, well, I'll get, one thing done. So at least this weekend I can relax a little bit. Um, I just start doing things, and it's just, like, hanging out there. And I just wait for the sun to come up, and it eventually goes away. Um, but, like, effectively freaked out. I went to the only class that I had that day, which was an anthropology class. And then I got the hell out of there. I actually messaged my roommate and said, hey, that book that's on my desk, can you take it and throw it in the trash? And I had him throw a copy of Communion in the trash. And I'm like, I'll explain everything when I get back.
Yeah.
And I explained to him, probably did not like what I had to hear. I probably freaked him out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to explain it, so I was like, yeah, there was a figure standing right by your bed, but it wasn't a figure, it was literally a silhouette of an alien just, like, on his bedspread. And I went home, just, like, took my time, calmed down, and I talked to she's not really my friend anymore. We are very of differing opinions politically.
Mm-hmm.
But she was very formative in my years of developing kind of, like, I wouldn't even call it, like, a psychic sense, but, like, I had this, like, I don't even know really how to describe it, but, like, I'm very attuned to, like, the spaces that I'm in. I'm very good at, like, feeling the energy of a room.
Right.
And I'm actually, like, I'm very good at tarot specifically. For me, I don't, like, a lot of tarot readers kind of rely on the card flips or the shuffling to do the kind of the work for them. For me, I don't. I actually take the cards, I split them up into 4 small groups, and I read the energy of the cards. And once the energy of a card stands out, I pull it, put it aside, and then go to a different one until I get all the cards that I need for it.
Interesting.
So yeah, I've always kind of been, like, I don't know, like, I could feel energy, so at least energy when it stands out. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll go and test it by clicking on just random tarot card readings on like YouTube or something like that, like pick a card readings, and then just letting that sense, direct me to whatever group it is, and I've never been wrong. Never once have I been wrong.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so she was very instrumental in that. And, like, she probably put the worst theories about aliens in my head. But one of the things that she told me is, like, you are in control of this. You can make it stop. You can make them stop. You can do pretty much, you can take control of the situation. That's
Mm-hmm.
what you can do. So I was satisfied with that. Nothing appeared to me that weekend. Went back to school.
Can I ask you a really quick question, just jumping back? Like, if you remember, and maybe it's hard to remember, at the time,
Mhm.
Because you weren't fully like enmeshed in the UFO world. You were dipping your toe into
No.
Ancient Aliens, reading Communion, but like a lot
Right.
of people read Communion who weren't like UFO obsessed. It was a huge
Right.
best-selling book.
Right.
Was your perception like immediately or like the following day, like there was an alien? Or were you kind of like still like, it might be a ghostly thing? Or, the way I think about it now, it's like, I'm not sure if there's a difference, really, but like, what were you thinking at the time? Like, because obviously, like, us as humans, we try to make sense of things even when they're really strange and weird. Like, what do you remember what you were thinking?
I was firmly in the camp that this was like an alien of some kind,
Uh huh.
at least. But like the stuff always kind of feels like it is in more than one realm at once. It's kind of
Uh-huh.
like more than one thing at one time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I remember writing in that piece is like whatever I was looking at felt really old, felt kind of ancient and shit. And like that, maybe that's the influence of Communion. I don't know.
Uh huh.
But it just like it had the sense of being something old and ancient that was just
Right.
like staring right at me for some
Mhm.
fucking reason. And it definitely felt like there was something in the room. So like yeah, I was definitely thinking, oh yeah, this was definitely in the room. And like of the idea, and the my psychic friend put this idea in my head: if you take an interest in them, they'll take an interest in you. So I'm like, okay, we'll stop all interest in that, and went back to school, and it appeared again that night. I woke up about 3 a.m. and I told it to fuck off. Basically, I said,
Was it in the same position?
yeah, same exact
Okay.
position,
Yeah.
and it never appeared again. The rest of the time I was in college, and I've never really seen it since. I've seen other things that are kind of similar, but not exactly the same.
Mhm.
And I shelved that UFO stuff until I didn't really go back to UFOs until 2015, but
Mhm.
2012, that psychic friend really pushed the idea of David Icke on me, and it was not good.
Oh, yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, they're wildly problematic, that man is.
Yes, yeah, just like an absolute piece of shit.
Mhm.
And summer of 2012, I had gotten a job since I had to leave college. Same job I'm working today, in the same place. And yeah, this is 2 years later. Yeah, no, wait. This is 1 year later. Because I graduated that semester was in 2011, so 2012. I was walking to work this is August, so August up here in like the summer months in general, the mornings are oppressively humid if it doesn't get below 60 degrees.
Right.
So it was kind of one of those mornings, and typical me, if you ever see me anywhere, like just like out in the wild, I will be wearing a pair of headphones all the fucking time. It's just like audio processing issues and like just like loud sounds just like really startle me.
Right.
So walking to work, had a pair of Bose headphones, had my iPod Classic just like throwing out some fucking, bangers, and typical route to work. And I'm a very observant person, and just in like and I'm sure it's like trauma from my childhood, just from the way my mom was, and like how she would my mom was a yeller, so you kind of had to, like, when you're a kid, sometimes you're put in a position where you kind of have to be fully on your toes when it comes to whatever is gonna set off a parent if they start, like screaming and yelling at you. And most of the time it was directed at my dad, but like that stuff kind of just like bounces off and it's going to hit you as a kid because you're going to hear it. But I'm just like really observant all the time. And the moment that I turn onto the street, like I could see that there was like some kind of animal all the way down at the end. And I didn't have any sense that it was anything weird, but yeah, just me jamming out to my stuff, walking down the street like normal, going to work, and then I get near this one person's lawn, and there is this creature that's hunched over, standing directly under streetlight. So it's like right there, fully in view. And the moment I stop, it stands up to about, this creature was maybe like 5'4", 5'5", somewhere around there. It was a little bit shorter than me. And it turned and it looked at me, and it was like, it was what you would describe as a lizard person. Like the definition of what a lizard person is. It has scaly skin. It's bipedal. It has a tail coming up. And I remember it was holding something in its hand. It was round, and it was like kind of a light color.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that really stuck out to me was that its facial features, because like most of the time when you see sketches of like lizard people and stuff, like their facial features are so exaggerated and stuff. Like they've got big eyes and like these like kind of snouts with teeth and like really sharp teeth. This creature just kind of had a normal size, like a normal, almost human face in a lot of ways. It's didn't really have much of a nose, but you could see nostrils, and like it had a mouth, but like its eyes were very normal. And it just like, we stood there, stared at each other, and it just kind of looked like you were staring at a person and just like sizing up a person. And then this creature, it kind of had to run up this little kind of short like hill to get up to this person's lawn, and then it ran into their backyard.
Did the running motion look like was there anything like, did it run really fast, like, or was it just kind of like normal? Yeah. Like
it was very fast.
Like extraordinarily fast.
Yeah, it had no problem like vaulting up that like small embankment.
Right.
To get up there. But I remembered like that house, nobody lived in that house for like a number of years. I think for like, I want to say maybe this first 6 years that I started using that path to get to work. Nobody lived in that house. I mean, occasionally somebody would winterize it. Right. But like nobody lived there. But like that was one of those weird things, because it's like, last time I saw something, it was like a gray kind of alien, absurdly set against a comforter. And then it's changed into this thing that is in these books that I'm reading that my friend told me to read, and that I think is absolutely ridiculous. But it's like, I've seen this thing, so what the hell am I supposed to make of it?
Right.
But like, just went to work, didn't tell anybody, did my job, clocked in, clock out, went home, never really said anything about it until I started getting involved in podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, that is a wild experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's, it's amazing. You said something in look, this is not me, obviously I have to speculate just because my brain can't help it, but like, Josh Cutchin wrote a really, what I think is a fabulous book called Fourth Wall Phantoms, and a lot of it is about fictional incursions with high strangeness and UFO reports, where people will see, fictional characters walk in conjunction with UFOs and other high strangeness things. But it does like, at the time when you saw the gray alien, you were reading Communion, which seems apropos. When you're
Yeah.
reading David Icke, you see a lizard person.
Hmm.
You know, it's almost like you're having fictional incursions of different things,
Yeah.
whatever you're reading at the time.
Right. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Very, very, very interesting. Sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah.
point that out. I'm not sure what it means, obviously, or if it is related at all. But I think it's worth pointing out, perhaps.
Yeah, it is. It's something that I thought about, and I'm sure like anybody who reads those articles or listens to this can kind of like draw their conclusions and stuff.
Yeah, it's like choose the form of your destructor, like
Basically, like
Ghostbusters.
I between that and like the gnome, Christmas
Yeah,
and stuff like that, it's
right,
like it it has a theme, and the theme is whatever is
hmm
current in my mind. So
right, which is
yeah,
fucking fascinating to me, man.
yeah. Um, so 3 years, yeah, it's about 3 years later. Um, the inciting incident that led to Our Strange Skies being a thing. A lot of the experiences that I've had revolve around me being at work or me going to work, which I've always found interesting because I don't really know what to make of that. I don't
Yeah,
know why that is the case. I don't know if it's just the town that I live in.
uh,
But from about 2012 to 2018, maybe like once or twice a week, it wouldn't be uncommon to see a weird light in the sky in this town. In
hmm
particular, it was always a white or a red light,
hmm
and it would just kind of like mosey around the town. Like there were a lot of people that claimed to see it. A
Right, so
lot
it's
of
almost like it was just like a thing in the town.
Mhm.
People it's like the Brown Mountain Lights. How people
Yeah.
report seeing these lights. So your town had like a recurring light
Hmm.
phenomenon.
Yeah,
Very
basically. And like the way that this thing flew, it was just very slow. It just like
hmm
moseyed its way. It's just like kind of like a person just like moseying their way down the street. That's kind of how it
Yeah,
felt. Like you would see
yeah.
it just kind of doing its thing. There's one occasion in which I was walking to a bar at around like 8 o'clock at night, saw a red version of this light. It just passed by over top me, heading toward the lake that gives this town its name. And
hmm
about 2 minutes later, there were two jets, military planes that flew right by in the direction that it was heading. So
Interesting.
um, that was always interesting to me. But
hmm
yeah, 2015, I'm at work, and at the time, I was like, I do laundry as a vocation for a nursing home, and at the time, we were just getting like large amounts of laundry, all the time. So, we're talking like 600 pounds of laundry a day,
Damn, that's a
about
shit
that on
ton.
average. Yeah, and uh, that particular day, it was around like 10:30 in the morning, and one of my coworkers came down, a guy named Dennis, and asked me to go out on break with him, and I'm like, man, I'm in the weeds here,
Yeah.
and he just kind of reassured me. He's like, I'll come in, I'll help you, get like caught up and stuff. So I'm like, all right. So we're out there, um, at the edge of the property, because the way that the laws are structured here, you can't actually smoke on like a hospital grounds or like
Right.
a medical center grounds. So we're at the edge of the property, just like standing around shooting shit, and I look up and there's this giant egg in the sky. Like no other way to describe it, just like a giant egg 100 times the size of an egg. Just like floating real slow, kind of like
Like
those
how
lights
how
do.
low was this thing? Like was it like low? Like was it like treetop level? Like like how visible? Like how close was it to you?
Um, I would say under 1,000 feet.
Okay,
Like
that's pretty low.
that's the best. Yeah, you got a pretty good view of it.
Yeah.
well above the trees, but rather large looking in the sky. So I look at it, I call Dennis's attention to it, but he didn't really seem that interested in it. He was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of weird. And he was just like on his phone doing stuff.
Right.
And I just like watched this thing. And again, it just like, it goes back to that feeling of this being very personal. And like, just like, it's like, okay, this is something that's meant for me.
Right.
And I watched this thing as it like, again, it's slow. It's like moving like maybe a few miles an hour. And it gets to about where we were standing, and then it just like turns very slowly, just like moves off in a direction away from us. Like it's like, okay, we've been spotted, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but like, yeah, it didn't disappear. It just like kind of moseyed its way on out in a way, and it just yeah, it was like a very weird thing. And there were other coworkers that were down in the garage near where we were, just like working on stuff. They never saw it. I never even thought to get their attention. And that incident kind of led me to start picking up UFO books again and just like really hammering hard. Like, I remember two of the first books that I bought were Missing Time and Intruders by Bud Hopkins. And the show that I enmeshed myself in was Hangar 1, which was on the History Channel, generally followed Ancient Aliens. It was MUFON's show where they would basically present their like case files, and like they'd also have like historical cases and stuff that they would feature. But it was
that's
like
the one with Bill Burns, right?
no, that was UFO Hunters.
No. That was UFO. Okay, yeah.
Hangar 1 just like had a bunch of like people being interviewed about certain cases, a lot of them involved with MUFON. And
is that
like,
the one where they did the Bledsoe episode?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't
sorry.
that one.
That was another MUFON
no, you're good.
thing, though. Yeah.
But yeah, this was like way before Bledsoe anyway. So like years before he kind of became the big figure that he is now.
Yeah.
But it was just like the most conspiratorial episode. There was like an episode that they did on the Psalm 101 manual, and like Linda Moulton Howe has gone to the trouble to have someone actually print a copy of this like fake manual and stuff.
Linda.
It was ridiculous, but like there were some interesting historical cases in there, and there were some interesting cases that they did showcase. So like, I was off to a rocky start, man, on this stuff.
Well, there's only, like, no one jumps right to the good stuff. You have to wade through a bunch of, crap to get to the good stuff sometimes.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get through. I mean, some people never get off the crap, so I'm fortunate that I did.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, like, I just like dove headlong into the subject, started buying books, which turned into thousands of dollars of hobby, like just ridiculous. But like 2 months later, I had just finished listening to this audiobook called The Forgotten Promise by this woman named Sherry Wild, and it's about her abduction experiences. She reported her experiences back in the 70s to QFOS, but like, when investigators started to get involved in her case, the aliens basically told her, yeah, they can't do that. You need to stop with this stuff. So like,
right.
It stopped there, and it just kind of like became a thing for her, and like she basically documents her experiences, but also the lessons that these aliens taught her, which were like, there are these like 3 big lessons at the end of it. I don't remember them all, but I remember one of them is like, monitor your thoughts, because your thoughts are like can be like negative and like influence things and stuff. Like, I don't think her advice is necessarily bad or anything, but it's just like I can see how most people would look at it and say, "Yeah, no, you weirdo, I'm not doing that." But
Right.
it was right after this, and like I think there were elements in the book where she could like kind of summon them if she wanted to. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to do that. So I'm like, if you in my head I'm thinking like, if you're gonna appear, go ahead and appear. And like at the time I was folding a bunch of sheets, and out of the corner of my eye, I don't know when this being showed up, but in the hallway right outside the door of where I'm folding is this being. It looks like your standard gray. I remember the eyes like really sticking out. Their coveralls were blue. But it was almost like a mannequin in a way. And a mannequin that can just like move on its own. Like it just kind of felt like it was there just showing me that like, yeah, you could summon this thing. This is what we look like. And like, yeah, its skin looked really, their skin looked gross, man. Like you could really just like rub it off in a way. Like just like that chalky kind of dry skin that just feels like it could come off if you really wanted to take it off. It almost kind of looked fake, like
like paper mache or something.
almost like silicone in a way, But this thing was there for a few minutes until I'm just like, okay, seen enough, and it just disappeared. It was gone.
Like vanished before your eyes?
Like that. It's not even that you don't even like notice it when it leaves.
Yeah.
When it's gone, but it's just like, yeah, it's just one thing, and then like, my attention was briefly taken away, turned back over, and it's not there. So, yeah, that was. I think it was the first time I've ever seen anything in like color, because everything else is like shadowy.
Right, and it was like during the day too, right?
Yeah, it was like early morning, like.
Oh, day gray sighting? Whoo, mama.
It's like 6:30 in the morning, probably 6:37, somewhere around there.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it was. It was weird, but it didn't deter me like the other stuff that I've experienced has deterred me. So I'm like, okay, I'll just like plow headlong into the subject. And for 2 years, I read books. I got obsessed with the topic, and then I started listening to podcasts. I mean, I'd listened to podcasts before. It was kind of like a thing that I did when I would work a night shift, because occasionally I would be working night shifts doing a certain position, and there were certain podcasts I listened to. One of the podcasts I remember listening to is like the Sklar brothers had like one of their early podcasts. I remember listening to. I think most of them were comedy, and How Did This Get Made? Great shows. But yeah, friends. I had made friends with podcasters, particularly the guys from Astonishing Legends. My friend Sam, who used to do a podcast called the Not Alone Podcast. My buddy Brian, who did Double Density. There were just like a bunch of podcasters. So I threw my hat into it, made Our Strange Skies, just like really hit the research hard. And there were a few other incidents like really before that started taking off, because it seemed like the podcast is the impetus for like my experience. Like I haven't really had any experiences since the podcast. Um,
which I mean, like, and I'm not trying to be like, all woo woo, but like,
mhm.
I am, look, I am a little woo woo, but so, but I mean, like,
Right.
I find that very interesting. It's like, I mean, look, it's like the bad deciphering of that bad version is like you needed to study UFOs, so it's like you had
Mhm.
all these prompts to get you there, because watching Ancient Aliens wasn't going to be enough for like it's like you had to experience it for yourself in order. Like obviously, like I don't know this, I'm just
Mhm.
drawing interpretations out of the ether, but like I do find it fascinating. It's like because I always say like people say, well, when you look into the subject, it looks back at you. It's like, well, no, you went head first into it, looked at it way more than you did previously, and then things just stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, the opposite happened.
The opposite
Um,
happened, so
yeah. Um, yeah, that always kind of has been like weird to think about on that particular end. But there was another, yeah, I think the most startling incident that I had was like a year after that. Um, Again, on another walk to work. This time, yeah, this is like September 2016, and I was I had made it to the front doors of the building, and I stopped and I looked up because there was this light in the sky, and it was a cloudy morning. This light was underneath the cloud cover, and it just looked really bright. And I've seen this light since. Like I say I haven't had any weird experiences, but like I've seen some lights in the sky which like haven't startled me or anything like that. I've
right.
seen one that has changed colors from um orange to white, um
Mm,
and stuff, but like there's this light and it was just like it was very bright.
yeah.
And I stop and I look at it and it starts to get like maybe a couple seconds after I stop, it starts to get really brighter and it starts to get bigger. And I'm like, okay, this thing is coming down wherever the hell it is. So I'm like, I'm gonna go inside. Fuck that
Yeah.
business. No, thank you. Um, don't want anything to do with that. So I walk in. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's like I was fully indoctrinated into UFOs by this time. So I'm like,
Right.
That's a UFO. That's not a meteor. Like
Yeah.
meteors don't just like and like yeah, it could have been from my like perspective or anything, but like I didn't hear any impacts or anything like that. So yeah, I'm thinking this is a UFO. Whatever the fuck reason it's doing this, well, fuck that. So I set about like my normal task for the day, go and get my laundry carts and swap them out and stuff. And as I'm heading down the hallway, so like where my work area is right next to the old morgue that used to be like, 'cause it used to be a hospital. The nursing home
Right.
I work at used to be a hospital, and like right there is the morgue, and it has like the um that brick facade that all morgues did back in the day. They had these like teal color like bricks in it and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I'm walking down this hallway, and this hallway leads to our loading zone, which you go through a set of double doors, takes you down another hallway leading to the units where the residents live and stuff. And as I get down, I've got these two big ass carts with me. So they're maybe like 5 feet wide, about 5.5 feet tall. Just your standard kind of laundry carts. So I'm bringing them down there, and when I get down to the loading zone area, there are these set of double doors that lead to the outside, and on the other side of these doors, so we're talking like probably like this is like 5:30 in the morning or so, maybe a little bit earlier. I can see a figure underneath the light outside, and looks like like a gray, like your standard
Yeah.
gray. But I also see this like it looks like it's holding something, and I see this spinning purple triangle kind of embedded in a circle. And the moment I look at it, I get this I get really drowsy. I get really tired the moment I see this. But I push through it anyway. I get those carts. Like, that's the weird thing, man, is like I'm determined to get these carts through this fucking door rather than get the fuck out of the way. So like,
Right.
fucking capitalism, man. It is the fucking worst. Like, I got a job to do.
Yeah, I got a job. Otherwise, yeah, exactly. I gotta feed myself.
Yeah, but like, I'm just like, fucking nope. Don't want anything to do with that. So I bring the carts out, and like, I don't return through that hallway until the sun has come up, which it really wasn't that far behind. It was maybe 45 minutes from coming up anyway. So I waited until then, somehow thinking that aliens couldn't get inside the building, even though I've seen an alien inside the building. But like, I don't know what the fuck that was. It was really fucking weird. Don't know why that thing made me really so fucking tired at the time. But I was like tired all fucking day after that. Yeah, I think that's the only like aggressive experience that I've ever had.
Right.
Where I could like look at it and say something was trying to do something and I don't know what it was trying to do.
It's like you thwarted its attempt to do something to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe
by the sheer virtue of having to live within a capitalistic society.
fucking late stage capitalism is the downfall of. It's the only thing that saved me from being abducted by aliens. Yeah. Thanks, late stage capitalism.
It's good for something.
Yeah, it's good. That's the only thing it's good for.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, like, I think a lot of the incidents and stuff that I had were like related to spirits that would just like kind of attach themselves to me for a period of time and then just leave. That's another series of, well, actually that's probably just like one article at some point that I will write, but like I just kind of threw myself even more into the subject, created the podcast, befriended a lot of people in those spaces. My big break actually came from appearing on Astonishing Legends back when the infamous New York Times article appeared in 2017, and things just kind of took off from there. But yeah, other than like hearing, yeah, one thing I didn't include in the article, for a period of time, maybe for about a year, every so often, I would exit my bedroom, go out into the hallway, and I would hear what sounded like a beach ball being hit.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's very specific too. Like I know what sound I know the sound.
Yeah, you can like, hear that in your head.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would hear that, but it was the sound of a beach ball that hung around for about a year for some weird ass reason. But like, yeah, the last major incident that happened was I had done an interview with Brad Abrahams. Actually, he asked me to interview him for my show, which is funny because I'm like, I didn't want to do interviews, but like, sure, okay, why not?
It was a great episode too, like a fucking great episode, classic.
It's one of my favorite conversations. And like, it led me to being in the the DVD extras of Love and Saucers. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the only. That's probably the highlight of my life. Yeah, that's the highlight of my life, is being a special feature on the DVD release, Love and Saucers.
It's such a great documentary, though. That is an accomplishment.
It is. Um, but the whole time that I was editing that episode, I felt watched. Again, that feeling of just like something's in the room, something's like watching me. It's
Uh-huh.
like want me to get this podcast edited and like scheduled for posting. So I edit the podcast, schedule it for that Monday, goes up. Like the moment that I was done with it, that feeling went away. It was gone.
Mhm.
And the next morning, after this podcast has gone up, walking to work again, and I see this. It's like this red and white flashing object. It was very low in the sky at the time, like much lower than a plane would be, and it was it like flew directly over me and then like fucking took off like a bat out of hell away from me. So like I don't know what that was really about, but I always kind of took it as being this like, I don't know, they're like leaving, they're going,
Yeah.
they've got other people to bother now, and
Uh-huh.
it's just kind of this like, last send off of a certain variety. But like there was one other incident in 2019 in which I basically, again, I asked like an alien being to appear in my bedroom as I was going to sleep. Like this was at like maybe 7 o'clock at night,
Mhm.
in the summer, so it's like still very bright out.
Right.
And I'm just laying there, and all of a sudden, this like, it was like the shadow of an alien, this shadowy figure. It appears and it starts moving forward, and I'm like, no, 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 let's not do
Oh.
that. And then it just like disappeared. And that's like probably that's the last incident that I can think of, other than just like seeing random lights in the sky. And like,
Have you tried? Because I mean, there's multiple like incidents, where you have asked to be shown something and it has appeared.
mhm,
Did you stop trying, or like because like even like that last example, you asked for an alien to appear in your
right,
bedroom as you're going to sleep, which by the way, Rob, not many people do.
true.
Usually the last time people, but like, is it something where like it doesn't work anymore, or you just kind of stop trying?
Um, I kind of just pictured as that being behind me at this point. It's just like that's a part of my life that um I was put on a path, and
Yeah.
I think that they put me there,
Mm-hmm.
and that once they put me there, they didn't need to be around anymore.
Uh-huh.
So, other than like the idea of, okay, just want to check and see if you're still around. Yeah,
Right.
maybe they check in every now and then, and I'm not aware of it, but it's just like they were kind of a presence, and I was steered in a direction, and I
Mm-hmm.
followed that path, and it's kind of just like led me to where I am now. So
Right. Right.
that's kind of what I see it as. More than anything, it's like just this gentle nudging to look into a topic, and then
Uh-huh.
seeing where that kind of takes you.
And I mean, like, I look, I have a laundry list of questions, and if there's any you don't want to answer, you can tell me
Mhm.
to screw myself. But like, like, God, how do I even begin? Like, do you? I mean, not, obviously, like, I know you pretty well, and I know a lot about how you view these topics, right? And you have a very good head in your shoulders, where you're skeptical when you need to be, but you're also radically open-minded, and you've
Mhm.
had experiences. So, but like, I would be, I guess, putting myself in your shoes. Had I had this kind of like menagerie of different experiences and different entities and different manifestations, do you, I'm also a patterns guy. Sometimes I probably find patterns where there isn't a pattern, but that's just human
Mhm.
nature.
Right.
But do you think these are all separate manifestations of the paranormal that have nothing to do with each other, or do you think they're related? Like, do you think the gnome in your room is related to the alien figure in your dorm room, to the lights in the sky, to the egg, to the lizard person? Like, do you find a through line where it's like, I'm being shown different things, but it's emanating from the same intelligence? Like, I wish I could phrase this in a better way, but are you kind of picking up what I'm saying here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's all one thing, and it just wanted me to go down a particular road
Hmm.
to, you know, explore this topic.
Right.
And because to me, like, more than anything, like, no matter what phenomenon you're talking about, they're messengers of some kind. They're trying to impart
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And um I mean, my beliefs on the topic have, changed radically over the years.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of just wanted to steer me down a path to um, where I'm going now, and like
Hmm.
I don't totally know where that is, other than like
Yeah.
it's me. Like it just has something to do with creativity. That's all
Yes.
I know about it. Is just like you're on a creative path now, and what's going to come of it is going to come of it. So just follow that and see where it goes. So I think it's all related in certain ways. I don't think all of that phenomenon is related. I think all of the stuff that I laid out there is related,
Right.
but there are other experiences that I've had that I think are kind of outside of that, but like
Yeah.
kind of play a pivotal role. Like there's an
Right.
article, there's one piece that I wrote like I don't know, maybe a month or so ago about my childhood dog and how she, like, my belief that sh we believe that she died of cancer,
Hmm.
specifically, but like I have this belief that her cancer fucked with our Wi-Fi router. um,
Interesting.
yeah, so um, long story short on this, this was in 2006, so like September of 2006, and my dog our dog had started to get worse. Her name was Abby. She was this border collie cocker spaniel mix, and she was like one of those dogs that we think was abused. We picked her up from the shelter, and she was a good dog, but from like the beginning of September to the end of September, her health started to fail her. She was like going to the bathroom indoors. She didn't
Hmm.
move much. And occasionally she'd whine a little bit, so we took her to the vet. The vet really couldn't figure anything out. So um, we just kind of like went with the flow, thinking maybe this would pass or whatever, whatever it was. But it was during this time that like our Wi-Fi router, you'd have to reset it like every day, like 2 to 3
Right.
times a day. It was just like insane, failing all the time, and it got really bad toward um, the end of her life. It was just like almost it almost didn't work at all.
Yeah.
But I remember after she died, we had no problems with it after that. Never another problem. So I'm like, did my dog. We believed that she had like colon cancer or something like that.
Right.
So did my dog's colon cancer fuck with our Wi-Fi router? Because like that's the only thing that I can think of. And like it's a sad story, but
Right.
it's also kind of funny because like,
Yeah, it is. I mean,
well,
there is a humor to it. Yeah.
yeah, like you had to find humor in it because I mean, if you read that piece, it's not a happy piece, but
Yeah.
it was something that I just wanted to write because it's like
Right.
it just seems so weird and so absurd that a dog's cancer could fuck with a Wi-Fi router. But
Yeah.
like it was just like something that happened. Like
Yeah.
my my life has had odd and weird moments like that. Like there are
Hmm.
these weird synchronous moments. Um, there's one in which my uncle had died on vacation in Florida, and back in the 2000s, they used to have those like, you could get them in like any mall anywhere. It's those like kind of like um that kind of like mirror art that had lights behind it.
Sure. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I had one of those, and it was just like kind of
Ooh-wee.
this like beachy scene and stuff.
Yeah.
I had just gotten it like for Christmas. This was like 4 months, so it wasn't even. I didn't even have it that long. I had it on. I was at home, and all of a sudden it stopped working. And the moment it stopped working is the same moment that my mother got a phone call saying that my uncle had died. So,
Wow.
like, just like odd things like that. I
Well,
have.
I mean, as we both know, electromagnetic effects with
Mhm.
UFOs and high strangeness in general are, I mean, that's been talked about for a long time. So,
Yeah, yeah. But
I
just
want to
like,
ask you. I want like.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Please go
No,
ahead.
no,
Please go
no.
ahead.
No, you're good, man.
Oh
You're
no,
good.
I'm just curious before I forget. Like, I mean, it's kind of a mundane question. I'm sure you probably have looked into this, but like your like exact area, like the county you live in, is
Mhm.
there like I mean, a lot of times when I think, there's like flap areas or areas, like God, southwestern Pennsylvania, which has had stuff going on for
Mhm.
a long time and a bunch of different stuff. Mount Shasta, central Kentucky, blah, blah, the list goes on and on. Like, is the piece of geography you live on or reside in, does that have a history of like high strangeness reports, like
Not really.
UFOs and like paranormal? No.
No, all the stuff that's like known in New York, like all the weird stuff, is toward the south.
Yeah,
Um,
Hudson Valley
so
area. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much Hudson Valley. Like
Hmm.
even the lower Adirondacks is like kind of where you find the weird stuff. It's where you find the Bigfoots. It's kind of where
Right.
it's where you get the documented Nessie site or documented Champ sightings.
Oh,
Um,
champ.
yeah, like most of that's yeah definitely in the south.
Okay. Okay. That takes away that question. But it's like, do you feel like let's say you were growing up in Orlando, Florida? Do you think the
Mhm.
same sort of thing potentially could have happened? Like the geography didn't have any relationship to this,
No, I
is
don't
your
think
feeling?
so.
Yeah.
I don't think it had anything to do with it at all.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
somehow centered around me, which feels very self-centered of me to say.
But it sounds like, I mean, that's the way it feels like to me. I mean, yeah, it's
Right.
like, yeah, not a comfortable thing to say, but like I do think it's about you, and like,
Right.
um, and maybe there are certain areas that precipitate this stuff to people where it's not about them. But
Mm,
here's also a question, and this is like obviously you maybe don't know for sure, and it sounds like a crazy question. But like, let's say like in a month from now, over the holidays, are approaching, and you're like, you know what? I feel like I need an interaction. I want an interaction. And if you started like putting that out there to the universe, for lack of a better term, do you think you could precipitate another experience?
no.
No.
I don't think it works like that anymore because
Yeah.
I think it like my belief is like it needed to get me to a certain point. It got me to that certain point and then it left. And
Right.
it's kind of just like let me do and um get to where I need to get to.
Yeah.
So like it's just like it was kind of just like this ushering thing that just like poked and prodded
Yeah.
me a certain way, and then it's like, okay, our job here's done. We got you to where
Mm-hmm.
we needed to, so yeah, you're good from here. And I don't think I'd even want to, just because
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I hear that.
um it's not even that I would fear kind of an interaction or anything like that. I just think like I don't need it anymore. It
Uh huh.
doesn't I don't need that in my life anymore just because like I've I'm where I'm at and I'm where I need to be
Yeah.
and I don't really need them to kind of poke and prod anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm just satisfied with where I'm at right now, which I'm sure upsets people that want the podcast to come back, but I'm just going to reiterate this for everyone. It's never coming back, ever.
And look,
I'm
I'm
sure.
one of those people who would love it to come back, but like I also
Right.
totally respect it, totally 1,000% get why you're like, I did that. I said everything I wanted to say with that, and
Can I tell you though, this one idea that I had for a period of time back when I was gonna write the humanoids book. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to write this book, and then I wanted to ask you to kind of do like one of the things I wanted to do was release like a podcast to go with it. So like
yeah,
have you host it, ask questions and stuff like that.
right.
Like that was one of the things that I wanted to do, and then it's like I lost all interest in writing this book because it's like the books exist out there, and like I know that my take on this stuff is unique and that
For sure.
I've found a lot of interesting cases, and I have an interesting way in which I feel about this topic. But it just like it wouldn't work. It would just be kind of boring.
Mhm.
I think one day, eventually, I will write a book about my beliefs on this topic. It's probably years down the line, but it will happen eventually.
I'd love to read
Part,
that.
part of it is just like my beliefs on it are still unfolding. I'll get these like random bursts of just kind of like I'll have a thought and I'll put it out there, and it just kind of exists out in like social media and stuff, but eventually I'll get to a point where I will just start reading like certain things, and like my interests have taken me outside of UFOs and into kind of like surrealist literature, magical realism and stuff, because I think that more than anything relates to this particular topic. I would say way more than like books on UFOs, just because like those books are about like fantastical experiences out of the ordinary that don't fit into the real world. I mean, the impetus of magical realism is like there is a real world that happens, and there are weird things that happen in this world, but it is accepted by the people in this world as something that happens, which is what I think all of this stuff is, which is why I don't believe it will ever be accepted en masse as, you know, something that is just normal and integrated into this world. I think it's normal and integrated for some people, but I don't think it's normal and integrated for everybody. So,
for sure, it's not. Yeah.
So, like, that's an ever unfolding kind of thing that just like bits and pieces of it come in at different times, but it's just like, I think now my focus is just on reading and writing, and eventually that will develop into certain things. But like, for now, my Substack is just kind of just it's a place where I put all my weird kind of writings and musings and stuff like that, and just like experiment and have fun with, you know, whatever I'm tinkering with in my head at the time. Like, I go through these these time periods in which I'll just get like really inspired, and ideas will come into my head just like rapid, real fast, and then I'll write it down, and then I'll like think on it for a while, and then I'll start writing something. So eventually that book will rear its ugly head, and I will write it. In the meantime, it's probably going to take more reading that I don't want to do right now, because I'm having fun reading like other things. Like I am reading, and his name is a pain in my ass to pronounce, but his name is Sigismund Kujizhanovsky, who was
that's a tough
this
one.
Yeah, but like he was this surrealist writer who was born in Kiev and moved to Moscow, his writings were never published during his time because it's the Soviet Union, and he's kind of writing like dangerous stuff in a way, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Mikhail Bulgakov with The Master and Margarita and stuff. And it's very in a similar line like that, but it's just like he writes a story about how there's a pianist whose fingers leave his hand and run away from him because they're tired of playing the piano and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's very Kafka-esque stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah, but like I would say he takes it to a more like extreme level. It's very surreal and stuff, but like I think I'm always gonna like come out and be this advocate for people to not just read books about like UFOs and weird stuff, but like
Yeah.
seriously go pick up some surrealist literature. Go pick up
Yeah.
some Leonora Carrington. Go pick up some like Murakami, some like find the weirdest literature that you can get your hands on. Like just go and Google like magical realism, and
Right.
the parallels are there. It's just like
Yeah.
a very interesting kind of way to think about things, and like how like structured reality can sometimes present itself. Like when people need a break from it, it has an interesting way of presenting that. So
Uh-huh.
like my brain just kind of, yeah, it's just like lost in those kind of thoughts most of the time. So
Well, you bring up a great point, because I kind of like, my whole life I've been very. I remember seeing a Salvador Dali painting like in a book, like in school, and just being changed forever. And like
mhm,
I find surrealism very important, especially when, I mean, like in, relating to Fordiana and UFOs and all stuff. I think like surrealism is almost like a decoder ring in a
yeah,
weird way for myself with this stuff, because I do feel like when it, I've read thousands, hundreds of UFO cases and
mhm,
paranormal cases, like, like you, I've been fascinated with this stuff for a long time, but it does seem to operate more on dream logic than it
mhm,
does like the reality that we reside in. And
yeah,
so I think like learning about dream logic and learning about absurdity and learning about surrealism and learning about art in general, I
mhm,
think there's a relationship there. I couldn't tell you what it is. At least for me, there is. Like
right,
I use like even like a David Lynch film. A lot of
mhm,
times feels like a high strangeness simulation. There
yes,
is no like bow. There's no like tidy ending where there's a bow on it and everyone lives happy ever after. It's like, no, there's an act one, act two, and then act two just kind of goes on forever.
yeah,
Like it
yeah,
doesn't end. And I feel like with this stuff, it's like even the way you're talking about this stuff, how it's affected your life. It's like, well, it stopped, kind of, sort of, but there's not really an end. There's not like a resolution. We're like, and I talked to the alien on the ship, and he told me this, and I got
mhm.
all the answers I ever wanted. This stuff does not operate like that. Almost, I mean, like I can't think of any incident where it does operate like that.
No, and I think like part of the problem with the way that people think on this topic is that they seem as if they are searching for a universal truth, but what they're
Yeah,
really searching for is an individual truth,
yeah,
a truth that works for them.
yeah.
Because there is no universal truth when it comes to this topic. There is none. There
Agreed.
are, theories and there are ideas, but it kind of begins and ends there because you can't prove a theory in this topic. You can't prove an
No,
idea when it comes to this topic. So, specifically, the individual search for truth is always going to be the main focus of this topic. There's a large case history that people talk about, but it's people exploring that case history and where it can kind of take them, and where it brings them in their head when it comes to this stuff, that I think is more interesting. It is more compelling, and I think people should stop trying to look for universal truths and just like let them lead it where it will, and just explore not just the topic but beyond the topic, and just like it's leading you more than one place, and let it
Right.
do that,
Yeah.
you know?
A great way of putting it. That's a great way. Yeah, because I mean, like, after God, I mean, I started reading UFO books when I was very little. So I'm after almost 40 years of, of being interested in this stuff.
Hmm.
Like, the only conclusion I can draw for myself is that weird shit happens to people. That
Yeah,
is it. I have
pretty
no
much.
better idea of what any. I'm more confused. I think I've learned to ask better questions. That is, I feel solid in saying that. But
Hmm.
aside from that, I think weird shit happens to people, and we'll never know. But I love the mystery, and maybe the mystery of it all is the point. Like, for me at
Pretty
least.
much. Pretty much. Like there was a time period from like the 40s all the way up to the 80s when I think this was um meant to be experienced on a mass level, in that
Hmm.
it was something that was meant to affect a lot of people over a short period of time, and I think it did.
Right.
I think,
Yeah, certainly.
just like that, all of that body of casework is from that time period.
Yep.
But there's nothing really beyond that except for the
Yep.
individual experience. And I think the
Yep.
individual experience and that body of casework are two very different things. I think
Hmm.
like this phenomenon in general um is more streamlined for people now. I think it
Yeah.
is more individualized for people now.
Yeah. I mean,
Um
they've distilled it down to a meme now. Like everything
yeah.
else.
Yeah,
which
basically.
you know,
Basically.
which which can be frustrating to people like us, but also I'm like, I get it. Like, like.
Right. But like I definitely think, this phenomenon has evolved in order to, like, it served a purpose from the 40s to the 80s, and I think,
Uh,
eventually this phenomenon saw that it could be manipulated in ways that it didn't want to be manipulated. So
right.
it became more of an individualistic type of thing where, yeah, there are certain mass events that have occurred. It's like Stephenville in 2008, and
Sure.
um, the stuff in Arizona in '97.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like largely, it is not experienced on that level anymore
Yeah.
because I just think it has found that particular way is not effective. It tried.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. It
think,
tried.
for a lot of people, and you can look at certain periods of time and say it was trying really fucking hard to get over
Right.
that message. Like
Right.
65 to 67, it tried. 73, it tried. 75, it tried. But I don't think that message landed. So
Yeah.
it resorted to being a very individualistic type of phenomenon that occurs to certain people but is
Yeah.
not reported on a mass scale anymore, which
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also in that individualistic form. It doesn't look the way that we think it will, because when we talk about, UFO, like when we categorize things, UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, psi phenomenon, and stuff like that, the moment you start to define what it is, you kind of lost it. It's kind of
Right.
escaped from your grasp a little bit, because you're trying to put limits on it and
Yep.
trying to say that it can't act beyond this, but
Hmm.
it can, and it does.
Right.
So
Yeah. Putting
that,
guardrails on this
yeah.
phenomenon is a fool's errand. It seems like.
Yeah, especially one that seems to be able to cater itself to people over and over and over again. Like, while
Yeah.
I don't believe that aliens visited us in ancient times, I do believe they experienced phenomenon like this closer
Sure.
to home that, affected them in some certain way. And I'm not going to, go ahead and say that phenomenon is responsible for the building of pyramids and stuff. I think ego more than anything is responsible for the fucking
Right.
pyramids.
Right. 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 Where a king or a leader is going to make like 5 generations haul giant stones just to build one
Yeah,
thing. Yeah. Like, yeah, for sure. Totally ego
yeah.
driven.
But I mean, like, we all have the desire to build large scale structures. So that's always that's always been with us, but like I definitely think there's always been that kind of odd influence on us, and I think that odd influence is directing us in ways that we don't think about, so then it kind of forces us to become obsessed with it in a way. And I
Right.
think that's what most people do, is they become obsessed with it, even though that's not the point. The point is
Yeah.
not necessarily to become obsessed, but to just kind of follow this topic wherever it's going to take you. And um, I mean, I could talk in circles over and over again because that's pretty
Right.
much what I'm doing. But like,
No. But I mean, like, it's interesting stuff, and a lot of these ideas you're putting out there are ideas that are rattling around in my head, and probably a lot of other people who have been, at least one time they're obsessed with it. Because I've gone through phases where I'm totally obsessed. I suppose there's always like a baseline obsession
mhm,
since I was a kid with this stuff. But I do have those moments where it's like heightened. It's usually when I have free time that I,
mhm,
like, given any semblance of free time, I usually choose to like dive into high strangeness, like, which is,
mhm.
I don't know what that says about me, but
I
but
mean,
it's just it's fun. I admit I like to enchant my world. I
mhm,
love mystery. Mystery is like my favorite thing in the world. Like,
yeah,
and so they go hand. Rob, this has been so fun. I just realized I almost taken up 2 hours of your time, which is insane. I'm so
it's all
sorry.
good,
This
dude.
was so
No,
fast
no,
for me.
it's all good.
But I would say that, like, like, as this series of articles progresses, like, maybe you'd be willing to come back on and talk about, part 3, part 4. I don't know how many you're planning on, or anything
Yeah.
else. I mean, like, look, you have an open door here, pal. You're one of my favorite minds in this stuff. I was obviously a huge OSS fan, but I'm just a big fan of you in the way, like, there's such an honesty to the way you talk about this stuff. Like, you never like claim, like, you could easily be one of these people in mainstream ufology to say, like, I'm an expert, I've read all the cases, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of humanoids, and you could insert yourself into those conversations. However, you choose not to, and I find that a beautiful thing, because, like, I mean, like, to me, UFOs have never been more boring. Like, at least, like, what's
Mhm,
happening, and the direction people's interests have taken, where it's more about the governmental machinations of
mhm.
how secrecy is kept, which I'm like, good God Almighty, I couldn't be
Right.
more bored by that.
Yeah.
But you were always so refreshing, and, like, and I will say inspiring. Like, the way you look at this stuff is like very. I mean, it's, and like, look, when you know Rob, you know that he is wildly skeptical of a lot of the cases, and a lot of the cases that we grew up loving. Like,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's like, oh damn, like,
Yeah.
about once a year I find a case that I love, like, maybe I'll say the Travis Walton case, and there's been some great write-ups and great research done to the Travis Walton case, and I'm kind of like, now, like, I don't think it happened. I think it was a hoax. Like,
Um, there's an interesting example of that actually comes to mind because the guy in which this happened to wrote a book this year, Steve Kubacki. For those who
hmm
don't know Steve Kubacki, you may have heard the story that it was Michigan in the mid to late 70s. Steve Kubacki went out snowshoeing and he disappeared. And nobody knew what happened to him for about a year until he showed up in Massachusetts at his parents' house. And for decades, nobody knew what was going on with that. And this year, Steve Kubacki wrote a book about it, and it is fascinating. He actually did an interview that you can watch on YouTube with this guy, and what he was basically trying to do was to start a political revolution. And he failed.
wow,
He failed big time, but like that's what he was trying to do, and he thought that
right,
by going missing it would help with that, and it didn't. But
right.
it's fascinating when stories like that do get told. Do you like get those kind of updates? And like,
Yeah,
yeah, there are some cases where it's just like, yeah, it seems like these days they fake the whole fucking thing. But like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Like
Like
I'm
Allagash, for example, didn't the
yeah.
Allagash, like, you were talking about
One
Allagash,
of
didn't,
them
like,
did. Yeah, Chuck
yeah, one
Rack
of them
did.
came out and said, like, yeah, he came out and said, like, it didn't happen. This is a hoax.
And it would make sense because if you read the book by Ray Fowler, The Allagash Abductions, they didn't get a lot of information from Chuck Rack.
Right.
He like did it was as if he didn't seem like he was a good candidate for hypnosis, but he didn't
Uh-huh.
really come out with a lot. It was the other guys that did, and like I don't want to
Yeah.
really harsh their vibe and say that they didn't experience what they
Right,
experienced,
right.
but like because even Chuck Rack says, "No, we did see a UFO. It just didn't abduct us."
Yeah,
But like
right.
I mean that also ties into those guys like stories from earlier in life. So you know,
Hmm.
I don't really want to take that away from anybody, but it's just like there are some stories that yeah they give me a little pause, make me think that
Yeah,
maybe they didn't happen. Um,
yeah,
Travis is definitely one of those stories. Like
yeah.
there are you know there are some indications that maybe it didn't, but like
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying for sure I think that, but,
yeah.
like, I literally just read one last night by, God, I can't remember his name, and it's a wonderfully
Mm,
researched article with tons of links, and after you read this, you're like, it's almost hard to draw another conclusion, because, I mean, there is just, and also one of the members who was there was like, yeah, that didn't happen. It
right,
was the tower,
right.
it was a well-timed event, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. But Rob, please tell the listeners where they can find your Substack and where they can find more of your work, pal.
Yeah, so if you for some reason want to go listen to episodes of Our Strange Skies, you can do so. They're still out there. But my Substack
Well,
is
oh,
called
you put them back up?
yeah, they are back up. Yep,
Because, okay, you took them down for a minute.
I did. I didn't want them to exist. Uh, and a lot of that is generally due to falling outs that I've had with people, but I've kind of just
Hmm.
made peace with it and said, go ahead, go listen to them. They're back up. So
Good for you,
yeah,
because they are an extremely valuable resource if you're into this stuff,
yeah,
especially humanoid case. I'm so happy to hear. Because I remember going on the thing, it's like, oh no, they're down.
yeah, yeah.
Because for me, it's one of the best road trip podcasts of all time. Or like,
Mm,
if you have a long journey, I could just crush like 7 of those episodes and just have the best time. Okay, that's great news. I'm so happy to hear that. Sorry.
yeah. But my Substack is called Foolology, Foolology. It was a word that I came across from a newspaper article of this guy who would debunk like weird claims and stuff in it, but I'm like, that's just a cool fucking word,
It
foolology.
is. Yeah.
So yeah, it's foolology.substack.com. You can find like there's all sorts of things over there. Yeah, I've written about certain my experiences. I have short stories, poems, like a lot of stuff over there. So if you're interested in like reading my weird kind of random stuff, go check that out over
And you're a
there.
fantastic writer, fantastic. Like especially when I know you, it's like I just hear your voice and hear. And you have a great sense of humor too. So yeah, I mean, I could not recommend going over there and checking out the articles, folks. Especially after reading this episode, at least start out, with the coming to terms with something I'm not quite sure I am, which I love that title. But the
Mm,
parts 1 and 2 are already up, so you can, devour those right away.
yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's like I feel more comfortable in writing than I do in anything else right now. So like that's
Cool.
the best way to kind of experience my weird machinations, my weird thoughts is just throwing them on digital paper and just allowing people
Hmm.
to read it. So yeah,
Yep.
go check that stuff out. There'll be more to come. It's just kind of
Yep.
like I post at random, so it's never anything that's scheduled because I find when you schedule things up, it just reminds me of the podcast. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like
I hear ya.
no, we let the creativity reign when and go where it wants to. So
Good, good. I think that's ideal. I think.
yeah.
Anywhere else you want to drive people towards?
No, I think that's it, man. That is
Okay.
it.
Well, you were going to find the links to the podcast and Rob's Substack, and I might throw a little something else in there as well. But Rob, I can't thank you enough, and also just thank you enough for it's one thing to write these stories out, but also thank you for talking about them.
Yeah.
It's courageous, and I can't imagine it's the easiest thing to talk about. Although you seem very calm and chill, and a flat blow about it, but I do really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. That you would come on and share your personal experiences, because I am a broken record on this. People's personal experiences are really what's important. The stories are what's important, not what Lou Elizondo, the bullshit he's trying to feed people.
Yeah.
I find a lot of modern ufology as just almost all of it is bullshit, and there's a nefarious agenda behind it. So that's my personal paranoia. But Rob, thank you so much for coming on and sharing these stories. It really does mean a lot to me. This is the stuff this is why I love the subject. I will always have interested in is the personal experience, because that is what matters.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I don't even call it vulnerability anymore, because I just don't care. I've had friends tell me that I should go and talk to a therapist and stuff like that. And I should probably go and talk to a therapist about
shouldn't?
things. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's those things that I need to talk to a therapist about, but
I don't either.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I appreciate being given a platform to talk about all of these weird things and just kind of explore them out and talk about them and stuff. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, we appreciate you here. You are a fan favorite, and man, you're just an all around solid, sweet man. So keep on being cool. Stay cool forever, Rob.
Oh man, I can't be anything other than the coolest motherfucker that I am.
Amen, baby. You are who you are, baby.
That's right.
Well, Rob will be back, because I won't give him a choice, folks. So this is not the last time you'll hear Rob, old Robbie K, or as I lovingly gave him the nickname Rob Bust a Bookshelf Kristoffersen.
Yes.
For a while, he was busting bookshelves with humanoid books, man. It was impressive.
It really was.
Folks, thank you so much for listening to another episode of High Strangeness. You'll find all the places you can find Robbie K in the show notes. And folks, I can't impress upon you this enough. Enjoy your dinner tonight. Okay, peace.